Hey, what's going on, guys? Coach Anthony here, and welcome to the Hustle Talk podcast. And I'm here with Coach Jonathan Valentini. Coach Jonathan has been a massive part of Hustle for the past, 7 years? 7 years, and he's been through, a lot with us, with me, and he is developing into a great person, a great, leader, and learning a lot along the way. Very grateful for Jonathan to be a part of Hustle for the past 7 years. And over the past couple years, he's really taken the reins on our athlete performance program at Hustle that works with kids that are 7 to 18 to helping them become stronger, faster, more confident. And the growth of the athlete program and the growth of the gym wouldn't be possible without Jonathan. So I'm excited to have him on and to talk a little bit about his journey here at Hustle. And we're going to touch on that, but we're also going to touch on the athlete program. And so without further ado, welcome, Jonathan. What's going on?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so let's get straight into it. Who is Jonathan?
So glad to be back on the Hustle Talk podcast. But so I started here a long time ago, 7 years ago it'll be 7 years in, I think, April. And I started from the bottom, like when it was just the two of us, pretty much. And I started as an intern, and I just wanted to learn. I wanted to learn about what it means to be a coach and work with athletes, work with adults to help people, get stronger, get faster, achieve their health and fitness goals. And throughout these 7 years, I've learned a ton, from just being on the floor and coaching sessions, but also behind the scenes of what it takes to build a program and a little bit of that. But my journey started a long time ago. I went to Addison Trail High School, played basketball and volleyball all throughout my 4 years there. And then I got a chance to play college volleyball at Benedictine University, where I played all 4 years. And then after graduation, I got a chance to move out to California and intern under UCLA Athletics and learn from their athletic performance department, working with all their major sports teams, from the basketball, the baseball, the track and field program, men's water polo, a lot of cool different sports and athletes that are at high levels, right? Olympians in some sports. But took all that experience, and then I kind of moved back home, and I decided I really wanted to pursue building the athlete program at Hustle. And I saw the potential that we had here and what we could really do as a team and giving back to the community that we both grew up in. So that's kind of where my passion was, and that's what's taken me here 7 years later.
I love it. And you've been through a lot over these past 7 years. I think it goes without saying, you going to UCLA, you learned a lot going there. Yeah. Being in the trenches of working with those high level kids, and you playing college volleyball, and a lot of the parents, they love hearing that. Oh wait, he played college sports. Oh cool, he knows what it takes, and the kids can relate to you because of that. So looking back at those early days, what were the biggest challenges that you faced in building the athlete program at Hustle?
Yeah, I think our motto since we started the athlete program is like, we help kids get stronger, faster, and more confident. And then as someone who is a young coach, starting the program when I was still in college, right, when I was doing an internship, is I struggled with confidence, like as a coach, and I didn't know what it means to be confident on the floor, how to lead other kids, how to lead adults. Like for me, it was like, as an 18, 19, I think I was 20 maybe at the time, trying to teach a 45-year-old lady how to do a squat and how to have them respect me and listen to the words I'm saying. So trying to gain their trust and their respect in me was hard. And then from the athlete perspective, is like the age gap between us was so small. I was, maybe 20 years old, and I'm coaching an athlete who's maybe like 2 years younger than me, and I'm trying to gain their respect as an athlete who's worked with you for so long, and telling them, hey, here's this 20-year-old kid, he's going to work with you. Don't worry, he knows what he's doing. And yeah, I had the knowledge, maybe the book smart to do it, but at the time I didn't really have the practical experience to go along with it, right? The on-the-floor coaching, being in the trenches, getting the reps. And I think that's probably the biggest challenge I faced, was gaining confidence myself as a coach. And now it's kind of shaped our motto for what we do with the athletes, is we're trying to help them develop the confidence, because we know how important it is to be confident as athletes.
I love it. And the fact that, we're kind of dealing with that, with Brendan, and he's like overcoming that, and he's like 23 years old. and the adults here, they have he's learning how to relate to them more.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to, it doesn't matter who they are, it comes down to developing the relationship with them, the person individually. And it's like one of the foundational, values is meeting people where they're at.
Yeah.
So, yes, you're not a 45-year-old mom, or you might be close in age with the athletes, but if you meet them where they're at, have a conversation with them and develop a relationship, ask them about their kids, ask them about their family, ask them about their goals and how you could help them. It all comes down to how you make them feel, and that's something that you've developed over the years, is meeting them where they're at. And confidence is built through reps and getting reps. And of course, you're not going to be confident from day one, but you get confident from getting reps and getting better and learning how to get better. And that's something that you've learned, over time. So this journey, how has your role evolved over the years? From the intern. Where I approach a lot of things in life with like a white belt mentality, everything in life with a white belt mentality. And Jonathan, he was an intern, but did I have an internship program? No. There was nothing there. Like, here, let's do that, do this. No, there was nothing set. And we're kind of like building it as he grows throughout the program, throughout the business, which is amazing. How's your role evolved over the years?
Yeah, I mean, like starting from the bottom. I started from the bottom. Now we're here, right? So started as an intern and just kind of learned learning what it means to be a coach and just getting the reps on the floor as a coach. And I'm still coaching a ton and, passing that along now to some of our younger coaches who are coming up, the reins here and learning what it means to, coach an athlete from 7 years old and then how to transition into coaching a 65-year-old adult and learning what that transition feels like. So now for me, I feel like more of like a leadership position where I'm helping the next generation of coaches go through what I went through and helping them build the program and the guidance that I wish I had as a young coach and kind of helping them get to where they want to go.
Of course, absolutely. And in fact, touch on that a little bit. It takes a very unique person, and I speak to the coaches about this all the time. It takes a very unique person to shift gears and train someone who is 45 to 65 years old and has never worked out a day in their life, is terrified of the gym, frustrated with themselves, intimidated, and then shift gears the next hour and train a group of 7 to 10-year-olds who are full of energy, or work with and then go shift gears and train an athlete who is a starter on a softball team in high school, getting recruited by college coaches. Imagine doing that back to back to back, and it's like that teaches you a lot, not only about training but also about dealing with people. And that's something that I think that you've improved on tremendously, just like dealing with people. And it's personal training is great, squats and push-ups, but developing the relationships and that can't get overlooked over what you've developed there.
Yeah, and I think like we talk about this all the time is like you could go to any gym across the world and learn how to do squats and push-ups, but the personal part of personal training is what gets overlooked sometimes. Like how personal can you be with somebody? How much of a relationship can you really establish? How much do you know about the person? How much do you care about the person?
Of course.
And for us, it's like, we always take the time to really learn about their family, their background, what sports they play, their career, and things like that, so we can relate more to them and have that personal feel. And I think that's what separates us a lot from other facilities in the area and other personal trainers.
Of course.
Is I think people really start to value that personal part of it.
Yeah, so let's touch on more of that. So from a philosophy standpoint, for the athlete program, adult, whatever it may be, adult program, let's start with what motivates you. What motivates you to work with athletes and adults every day?
Yeah, I think we could start with the athlete side of things. Is like for me as an athlete, I got to be a high school athlete for 4 years and I played college for 4 years. But now it's like for me, I want to give back to athletes and help them go farther than I ever could. Right, I got to college, but I felt like I could have gone beyond that if I had the skill set, if I had the training to go along with it. And at that time, I didn't really know how to train athletes, right? I didn't know how to train myself. So if I had that knowledge, maybe I could have went a little bit farther. I could have played professional sports. But for me, it's like I want to help athletes reach their full potential and get as far as they want to go. Whether it's from like a mindset perspective, if they need help with the mindset, if they need help with the nutrition, if they need help with the structure of their training, right? What goals to set, things like that. I think that's what kind of gets me out of bed every day is like, and motivates me to get going. And then from an adult perspective, I think kind of having a family who's not the most active, not the most physically active, kind of motivates me because I kind of see the things that they go through. And as much as I preach to them how important it is to be active and to, get a workout in, go for a walk, like do those kind of things. It's hard, right, to be a family member giving that kind of advice, sitting down at the Thanksgiving table and be like, hey, let's get back on track this new year, and it never ends up happening. So for me, it's like helping the adults that do want to actually do those things, so they can live a healthier life and play with their children and hang out with their grandchildren as they get older. That's what kind of motivates me here.
Very cool, very cool. And there's one thing I get out of that. You just want to lead from the front.
Yeah.
As, lead from the front to the adults in the community, in your family, and also lead from the front from athletes that are, looking to get stronger, faster, more confident for their sport. And, that's great. So talk to me about the athlete program. So tell me about the athlete program at Hustle. If I had to say, Jonathan, you got, 60 seconds, and I'm in an elevator with you. What's the athlete program?
Yeah, so the athlete program, we focus on helping athletes between the ages of 7 to 17 to help them get stronger, faster, and more confident, right? So we have a youth foundations program that is for the youngsters, that is a 7 to 10-year-old age group. Then we have a middle school only program, which is for kids 11 to 13. And then the athlete performance program, that's our highest program, that's for kids 14 and up. And every program, right, no matter what age group they are, the goal is always stronger, faster, more confident. It's just performed at different levels, right? At the youth, the youngsters, it's more about learning the fundamentals, learning the basics, having a good time, right, building some good habits. Then as they progress throughout the program into the middle school group, now it's like we're stepping things up a little bit. This is like the key years where kids really start to develop as people and as athletes. So turning it up a notch, getting them to learn a little bit more advanced training techniques, we key into their mindset a little bit more as they get older. And then the high school group is now it's about unlocking them, right? Unleashing their full potential and getting them to the highest level of performance we can. Whether it's, jumping higher, jumping farther, running faster, being more explosive, getting these college offers and things like that. And that's kind of what the athlete program is in a nutshell right there.
Very cool, very cool. So how do you adapt to how do you work with kids in a big group? How many kids are in a group? How do you adapt to the training based on their age level, based on their skills, all that stuff in the sessions?
Yeah, so we do a 1 to 7 kind of coach to athlete ratio, especially with our older groups, the middle school and the high school program. We keep it small. We keep it small for a reason. That's because we want to give every single kid the value, the coaching, the guidance that they need, right? If we could easily pack the gym with 30 plus kids, but are they getting the coaching that they need out of it? The answer is no, right? When you go to these high school weight rooms and you see what a lifting session looks like, sometimes there's 50 kids, 60 kids in a weight room with one coach, and that coach is not able to give every individual the attention that they need to be successful. So for us, it's all about, creating value and keeping things small, so we can create a tight little community and everybody knows each other's name, and we create an environment that's going to produce results. Everybody in there is very like-minded, right? They all want to achieve really high-level goals. So surrounding yourself with other kids who want to do similar things, I think, is one of the most important parts about being an athlete, right? You are the product of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if we can surround them with other athletes that, want to get stronger, want to get faster, want to be college-level athletes, the likelihood of them achieving the same thing goes up dramatically.
I love it. So, we work with teams. We work with kids that are, they go to practice with their travel baseball team, travel softball team. They have hitting lessons. They have fielding lessons. They have pitching lessons. They go to football, weight room, all that stuff. How do you talk to a parent and explain to a parent that strength and conditioning and power and speed work is a critical part of their development, no matter what age they are? Because we sit down with parents all the time that sometimes they might put their skill training over their strength and speed training, when personally, not just because we have a gym, personally in the development of a young athlete, strength is the foundation of everything, no matter the age. 100%. So what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think I talked about this the other day, is being an athlete today is way harder than it was when we were athletes, right? There's so much more on their plates now, and there really is no such thing as an off season anymore. It's like you look at these sports like baseball, softball, soccer, like they are year round. Like there is no breaks in the year to really commit to an off season of training. So they have to figure out a way to squeeze it in throughout the season because the off season doesn't exist. So what I would kind of say is like, hey, establish a baseline of what's really the most important to you right now at this moment. And for most kids that we talk to is like, hey, I want to get stronger, I want to get faster. Okay, awesome. What are the main things that are going to help you accomplish those goals? Is it going to your batting coach? Is it going to your pitching coach? Is it going to your wide receiver coach? Probably not, right? Like if you want to get stronger and faster, the answer is pretty obvious, right? You need to be, in a gym. You need to be doing, lifting weights. You need to be focused on your speed with your acceleration, your technique work when it comes to your speed. That's how you're going to get the best results. It's pretty obvious. Now, the hardest thing I think for most people is finding the time to squeeze it all in. So what I always recommend to athletes is like take a piece of paper and prioritize your three most important things in your schedule right now. Okay, number one is my practice with my team, right? That's obviously, you can't miss that. Number two is like what I would say should be your strength and conditioning, right? If your goal is to get stronger and faster, then that needs to be the top of your priority list. And then number three would be whatever else you can kind of squeeze in with that time. Then you can kind of think about adding in your private hitting coach, right? Your wide receiver coach, your footwork, whatever you got to do on that end. But I think just being clear and upfront with what your priorities are at the moment, and then you can kind of figure out the rest from there.
Yep, absolutely. And the regardless of in-season, off-season, games, whatever it may be, there's a big difference in my personal experience and athletes that have come here. There's a massive difference between the athletes that continue to work out during their season, during their game times, whatever it may be. The athletes that stay working out, whether it be 1 to 2 days a week or 4 to 5 days a week, those kids will dramatically see more results week after week, month after month, year after year, if they are consistent in the gym over the kids who stop working out because season starts.
Yeah.
Those kids, guess what? Because when that happens, the kids who continue to work out, they'll get stronger during the season. And when the time matters most, when the game's on the line, they're going to be the ones that deliver. And those kids that stop working out, they're going to be here. And guess what? They're going to stop working out. The season's going to go, and they're going to flatline. Those kids are getting strong. Yeah. Okay. Guess what? Season ends. This kid who stopped working out, guess what? They're gonna want to work out again, but they're gonna be set back so far. While this kid is, hey, I'm gonna keep working out. I'm gonna come in 2 to 3 days a week, 3 to 4 days a week. They're gonna keep getting better, because they made it a priority, because they instilled the habits that needed to get accomplished.
Yeah, and you almost get like passed up, right? Like as soon as you stop training, you got to think about like, hey, my competitor's not stopped training, right? My 100%. Peers are still going.
And you see a difference, especially as the kids get older. I spoke to a dad today. His daughter's on one of the softball program, and there's girls on his team that aren't working out, but Erica doesn't stop working out 1 to 2 days a week throughout the season, and parents are coming up to him asking him, hey, Jason, what are you doing? Like, what is she doing?
Yeah, she's an 11-year-old playing with 14-year-olds.
Correct. And, that's something that, it's the consistency factor, and it starts to show even at her age, at sixth grade.
Yeah.
That's just another example that we see of the consistency factor. So that's important. Now, you have something to say?
No, I think like the biggest restriction with like in-season training for people is just the time, right? And, I think we can all find the time if it's really important to you, and it just goes back to prioritizing like what your top three are at the moment.
100%. And we're not even saying like come to hustle to work out.
Yeah.
No. Hey, work out before school.
Yeah.
Work out. Prioritize 1 to 2 days a week of 30 to 60 minutes of strength training, and you'll be able to see a difference over time.
Yeah.
In addition to your actual skill training, yes, important, in addition to your actual practice. And, we can get into all the habits and stuff like that, but those are some big ones there.
Yeah.
Not to mention being a student and eating right and staying on top of that, being a good person. Yeah, that's a whole different podcast. But with that, to stay on topic there, so speaking of that, how do you ensure what we're doing at Hustle, complements what athletes are doing. Let's say, they're working out with their team at school, before school, and they still want to come at Hustle. They go to football, they go to softball, lifting at school, or they do some lifting with their program, travel team.
Yeah, I think it's a communication, right? Just constant communication between the athlete and our coach, right? Whoever is coaching. But it's important to realize that I think every high school athlete now is doing some lifting with their team in some capacity, right? It's different than it was 15, 20 years ago, where almost every school has access to a weight room now and a coach that's running those sessions. But for us, it's like it goes back to, giving value and meeting everybody where they're at and giving them individually what they need. So for us, like we have athletes all the time that lift before school, whether it's baseball, football, softball, you name the sport. When they come into the gym later in the day, we ask them, hey, what did you do this morning? What was your lift like this morning? Hey, coach, I did deadlift, I did forward lunges, I did RDLs, I did all this. Okay, awesome. Let's fill the gaps with what you're missing right now. There's a lot of things that we're missing in this workout that you probably didn't have the time to do within that team session. So there's always more that we can work on, whether it's if they just did lifting, okay, let's focus more on the speed, agility, plyometrics portion of things. If they just did speed, okay, awesome. We can fill in the gaps with a lot of our strength training and focus on what they're missing. Mm-hmm. And for us, that's like always what it goes back to is like, treating everybody like an individual and then meeting them where they're at and then ultimately going where they want to go. But there's a lot of things that we can always work on, even if you are training with your team.
Of course, that was great. Something I want to add to that is give me a sport to pick on. Softball or football? Let's pick on softball and football. Give me one.
Football.
Football? Perfect. Even better. It comes down to communication ultimately, yes. Now, my spin on things are I highly recommend athletes to show up and support their team with their team lifts. They need to lead from the front. They need to lead by example. They need to set the standard for their team and their culture, especially if they come here, because it's a direct reflection of what they learned here with us. Yeah. Now, to touch on that, kids that just go to this is my hot take, kids that just go to their required lifts for their team and don't do anything else outside of it, that is becoming that's an average athlete in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Every single kid in the state of Illinois has their mandatory required lifts that they go to before school, after school, whatever it may be. Yeah. If everybody is doing it, guess what? You're going to be average. Okay? What are you doing to get better? What are you doing outside of that time that will separate you on the field on Friday night so that you get noticed by coaches, so that you earn more playing time, become a starter, all of that stuff. So if you want to be average, of course, just go to that. Coaches, high school coaches should encourage their kids to do more, to do extra, because that is what's going to ultimately separate them, on the field. So yes, communicating, but I encourage all athletes, not just football, to, especially if you have goals of making it, or not even to be a Division I, it's making it in college to play a college sport, but if you want to earn a starting position and, get better as an athlete, you need to do more. Yeah. And not just going to the required lifts because the coaches say it. It's important to elevate yourself. And yes, guess what? Kids that come here and they go back into their weight rooms, coaches have reached out and said, hey, so-and-so has great form. So-and-so is leading from the front. Oh my God, they see the benefits.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Hot take. We love the hot takes at the Hustle Talk podcast.
Yeah. So I mean, it's important. And it's important because we're kind of going to go into the next question. I'm going to talk a little bit about it, but it's important to do that because it develops trust with coaches, and strong relationships with people in the community. But so how do you what's your approach to building trust and relationships with the athletes?
Yeah, I think a big one that coaches kind of misunderstand is that. A lot of these team coaches, whether it's like a head football coach or head softball, baseball coach, they feel like we're here to sometimes disrupt what their program is. But the opposite is the truth, right? Like we're here to help, and we are here to enhance athletes and get them where they want to go. Like you said before, is if they're just showing up to their team workouts, that's the minimum requirement. That's what an average athlete does. The kids that come to us are not the average athlete. They want to go above and beyond. They want to do the extra. So for us, establishing a relationship with the head coach is like number one. What I always like to do is I like to shoot the coach a text or an email, be like, hey, we have this athlete in the gym today. What are some things that you would like to see them work on to help them become better on the field for you next season? And I think when we phrase it that way, they understand like, okay, these guys are here to help, right? These guys want to make this kid better. And that's, again, what we're here to do is like establish a relationship with the coach and then figure out what the athlete needs to work on because they see them on the field or on the court and they see what they struggle with when it comes to performance. Because what they do well in the gym versus what they do well on the playing field are two very different things. So if we can do anything to help them become better for the team, that's why we're here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that to touch on the coach part a little bit more, and it's important. So I like to tell the athlete that, hey, does your coach know that you're working out here? Mm-hmm. Like we want them to tell their coach that you're working out here because it'll develop a relationship with the coach, but it also see like, hey, little Jonathan is putting in extra work.
Yeah.
Cool, but hey, I started at Hustle this week, coach. Oh, wow, okay, cool. What's Hustle? Maybe they'll start that conversation. Or if they know of us, they'll be like, okay, cool, you're in good hands, stuff like that. So it's important to develop a relationship from a coach standpoint. But, building trust and developing strong relationship, that comes down to getting people to know, like, and trust us before they step foot into our doors. And when they do, I'm talking like the parents, like it comes down to the parents and making sure that we assure that their kid, their son or daughter is in good hands. And that's something that is done through, conversations, just like we sit down in this room and we get to know the parent and their kid too, and that's how it's done. And it's not it's not easy, but it's done over time. But that's important. Now, let's talk a little bit more about athletes. Now, what are the most common mistakes you see athletes making, and how
there's a lot.
Can you avoid them?
There's a lot. I think one of the big ones is, athletes sing the things on social media and wanting to do those fancy drills, right? Like doing the parachute sprints or doing like trap bar deadlift jumps, like doing all these crazy things where it's not what's going to yield you the best results, right? Like the basics done at an extremely high level over and over and over again for years is what has proven to get the best results time and time again. Right, like I said before, I've seen kids at the age of 7, and I've seen athletes at the age of 25 that are professional Olympic level athletes, and it always comes down to doing the basics at a high level, right? Like 7-year-olds, you're learning how to do it. By the time you're 18, 19, 20-year-old, now you are very proficient doing very high amounts of weight, right? Really advanced kind of training techniques when it comes to different lifts and stuff like that, but doing the basics over and over again, I think, is number one. You don't need to do the fancy stuff. Just stick to what works and what has been proven to work. And I think another one is, not keeping track of what you're doing in the gym. So for us, we are constantly preaching to our athletes about, tracking the weights that you're using from a week-to-week basis, right? Tracking what times you hit on a sprint, right? Tracking everything, whether it's your sets, your reps, your weights. That is the best way for you to kind of see where you were at last week and what you need to do the next week to continue to level up and grow and get better. Because if you show up to the gym every single week and you're doing the same sets and you're doing the same reps and you're doing the same weight, guess what? You're going to get the same results and you're going to be the same. So you have to show up every day looking to get a little bit better, adding 2.5 pounds to the bar, right? Week after week. You do that for 52 weeks in a year and think about how crazy strong or how crazy fast you can be. So I think too many people are in a rush for success, in a rush for results, and they don't have the patience to do it over and over and over again for a long amount of time. I would say those are probably my top two.
Yeah.
Nutrition could be a big one as well.
Yeah, and the simplicity factor of what you said was, it doesn't, like 7 years old or 25 years old, guess what? You're still going to be doing a squat, a lunge, a single leg movement, a row, a push movement, a hinge. You're gonna sprint. You're gonna jump. You're gonna throw.
Yeah.
You're gonna, So those are the foundational movements that we work with. No matter 7 to 20, 7 to 80 years old. You're maybe not so much power jumping, but you know what I mean. But it all comes down to sticking to the foundations and doing them well and progressing over time. And that's some people don't, people don't like it, but it's doing the boring work day after day. And guess what? Michael Jordan, LeBron James, the best, Patrick Mahomes. These guys are showing up. They do the boring work every single day, and they've mastered it. And we encourage these kids not to give in to the hype. Stay focused on doing what's going to get you better, and that's doing the basics and the boring work consistently at a high level day after day, and doing what's required essentially to get your goal. So that's good. Now, if you could give any advice to athletes who have big goals, what would it be?
Yeah, I think especially with the new year, we talked about this last week with our group of athletes. Is what I wanted them to do at the beginning of the year was, take 10, 20 minutes before the year starts and establish what their top 5 goals are for the year, and be as clear and detailed and as specific as they could be with it. Because a lot of times when we meet with an athlete, like in this room, they sit down and I ask them, what's number one goal right now? What are you training for? Why are you here? And they say, I want to get stronger and faster. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, what does that mean, right? Like, how do you know you're getting stronger and faster? How are you tracking that? How do you know if you accomplish it or not? So for us, it's like, be detailed, right? Be as specific as you can. Here's a good example. I want to deadlift 300 pounds by June 25th of 2025, right? That is clear, that's specific. It gives you a deadline. Hopefully it's realistic, right? And that gives you a clear thing to shoot for. And if you're on track for it or not as the months go by. But I would say, do that. And then surrounding yourself with the village of the people that you need to be around to get to those big goals. So if you think about the village of a successful athlete, right? You have their parents, right? You have their coaches, you have their trainers, you have the support staff of the team, right? You have a lot of those people, their friends. All of these people contribute to your village. And like I said before, is like you are the product of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So making sure that the right people are in your village is going to help you get closer to your results, right? Your environment is everything to an athlete.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Good stuff. Now, to kind of round things up a little bit, this was great. Now, getting started at Hustle, and if you're an athlete and you want to get started at Hustle, what should parents and athletes expect when they first come to Hustle? That's a 2-part question.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first step in kind of getting started is, shoot us a message, right? Shoot us an email or whatever, get in contact with us. And then we would set up what we call as like a free trial session, right? If you're in the youth program, we'll let your 7 to 10-year-old just try a session out. If you are middle school or older, what we like to do is we like to sit down, go a little bit more in depth with it, where we sit down, chat for a little bit, talk more about goals, and then we will put the athlete through an evaluation workout where we can get a baseline number on, what their broad jump looks like right now, how high is their vertical jump, how fast can they run, what does their technique look like on those drills, and then evaluate them from a strength perspective as well. How well can you do a squat? How well can you do a push-up, a lunge, things like that. And then we would come back in, chat more about, what does success look like to you, right? That's the biggest question we like to ask people is like, where do you see yourself in a year from now? What are the things that are stopping you from getting where you want to go? And then from there, we'll figure out what the best plan of action would be, how often you should train, the top priorities for you, and then we'll figure out, again, how to get you started, how to get you on the right first step. What was the second part?
Parents. What should parents expect when they first see their athlete get started at Hustle?
Yeah, I think parents should expect a professional, expert level coach. All of the coaches on staff here at Hustle that have worked with the athletes are previous college coaches or college athletes ourselves. So we know exactly what it takes to help an athlete get where they want to go. And then it's a community, right? It's a good family community type of feel where everybody in this building is supporting each other. Every kid is going to introduce them to each other, right? They're going to know each other's names. They're going to know who they're spending time with. They're going to know the goals of other kids. And I think I say this over and over again, is like the environment is, probably the best thing that we can offer to young athletes, surrounding themselves with other kids that are like-minded.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when it comes to the parent, they're an important piece of the puzzle because they drive them here, chances are.
Yeah.
They are the ones that are believing in Hustle to help their kid become, to reach their goals. And that's something that we don't take for granted one bit. So one of the questions that we actually asked in the game plan session is, we asked the parent, what does success look like to you?
Yeah.
with little Johnny coming to Hustle. Like, the question is, what will make this investment be worth it for you? And a lot of the times, parents, with most from my experience in these sessions, parents like to say that, I just want him to gain his confidence. I want her to gain more confidence. And they see that confidence because, with the consistency, with the reps putting in. So, seeing what success looks like to the parent is very important for us. It's a major talking point and a relationship builder during the starting point game plan session. So anything else you want to add about the athlete program?
No, I think we've worked with a lot of kids over the years who, from the ages of 7 to 17, who've come from all different backgrounds, all different sports. And I think the biggest thing that really separates our athlete program is the confidence aspect that we focus on and the mindset focus of being an athlete, because the mentality is hard, right? And if you've never taught how to focus on your mindset, then you never really have those skills going forward. So laying that foundation and learning, everything that it takes to be successful as you grow older is really important.
Love it. Well, guys, I'd like to thank you for listening. Coach Jonathan, thanks for joining us on this episode of Hustle Talk. If you like this episode, give us a share, give us a subscribe. If you didn't, I'm sorry, we'll be better. But we'll see you in the next episode. And as always, thanks for hustling.
See you guys.